Camp Crystal Lake is jinxed.
It's got a death curse.
Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode of Saturday Night Horror. Tonight we're continuing our look at Friday the 13th. Tonight we're going to be watching Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Now Friday the 13th, the final chapter, as was the case with part 3, was actually meant to be the last movie in this franchise. And as we all know, that did not work out. Which is a good thing for us because we got more Jason Voorhees. So yeah. Like I said, part 3 was supposed to be the last. It was so popular that they went ahead and made part 4, which is known as the final chapter. This was supposed to be the last one, which is why it's called the final chapter. But this one proved to be so popular with the fans that they ended up making part 5, which we'll get into next week. So the moral of that story is Jason Voorhees never really dies. Just when you think you can get rid of him, you can't. The fans love him and they want him to come back. So yeah, tonight we're going to be watching Friday the 13th, final chapter. We're going to be cooking as well. A couple weeks ago we made stuffed mushrooms and they were so good, I decided to do them again. I will not record the whole process because I did it in another video. I'll just have a quick version of that, kind of like an abridged version of getting those ready. And it's going to be a fun night. Hopefully the cats will join me as well. But yeah, Friday the 13th, the final chapter. As with most Friday the 13th movies, the critics really didn't like it. They trashed it as they do with most horror movies. The fans, however, enjoyed it, and that's all that really matters. So with that being said, we're going to get into it. We're going to head to the kitchen. We're going to make these stuffed mushrooms. It'll be real quick for you. It'll be about an hour and a half for me. And then we'll watch our movie. So let's go to the kitchen. Let's get started. Alright, so we've got all our stuff chopped up. We have cleaned up the mushrooms. We've taken out the mushroom stems, put them in a food processor. That was a suggestion of Mama Beefcake. Mama Beefcake also chopped up the green peppers for me. So yeah, we've got our mushrooms, we've got our peppers chopped up, mushroom stem chopped up. Look at that. Looking good, looking good. Got all the mushrooms cleaned up. Yes, sir. So now that we've got all this together, what we're going to have to do is cook these mushroom caps in a pan in butter just for a little while. So we got the butter melting now, just till they're golden brown, just a little bit sauteed. So we'll get that butter melted and get them cooking. Alright, so we got most of the mushroom caps in the pan. Not all of them fit. That's fine, we'll put some more in when these are done. But we're just going to leave them in here for a little while, just get the bottom of them golden brown a little bit. It shouldn't take too long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes at the most. So yeah, we're moving right along. Alright, we got all the mushrooms cooked, or mushroom caps, excuse me. We got all of them in their pans here. And I'm going to go back and drain those a little bit. I missed some, so we'll drain some of those mushrooms. But yeah, they're all cooked. Look at that. Now since we got those done, what we're going to have to do now is combine these chopped up mushroom stems and the peppers into a pan of butter. And we've got some butter melting now, and we're going to cook all that together. So once the butter's melted, we'll cook these. Alright, so we got them cooking, and we'll cook them about 5 to 7 minutes. That's what I usually do. As you can see here, they're all mixed up. Smells good too, man. But yeah, we're going to cook all these, and when they're done, we'll move right along and make some stuffing. Hey everyone, Future Beefcake here. I just want to pop in to say that although it did save some time crushing the mushrooms in the chopping the mushrooms in the food processor, once I started cooking them with the peppers, we found out that it's probably better just to chop up the mushrooms with a knife like I usually do. These mushrooms are so small going through the food processor, they still collected a lot of moisture, and once I started cooking them, all that moisture came out, so it was like I was just cooking them in mushroom water. And then they were so small, they were kind of being cooked into nothing. They were just being cooked and just dissolving into the peppers, because as you know, mushrooms shrink when they cook. So yeah, although it was a good idea, it's best to just chop them up with a knife. And before I go, I just want to say, I started chopping the green pepper 10 minutes before she started chopping the red pepper, and she still finished before me. How the heck did she do that? Anyway, back to the show. Alright, so we made our stuffing, and we put in the mushroom stems, the green peppers and the red peppers, mixed it all up. We're going to let it sit for a little while. A lot of moisture from those mushrooms. But yeah, that's what we're going to put in the mushroom caps over here. So we're going to fill the mushroom caps, we're going to put them in the oven at 350 for 10 minutes. Alright, everyone, here's the finished product. They've been in the oven. They smell good, they look good, they're going to taste good. I'm ready to dig into these, man. Alright, well, we got our food, so we got to get something to drink. So let's go to the fridge and let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, there we go.
Never there was fun, there's always Coca-Cola, yeah. Coca-Cola, always Coca-Cola.
Alright, we got our food and our drink. Let's go out in the living room and watch some movies. Alright, here we go. We're out in the living room. We just have one light to turn out. And we'll be ready to watch Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Alright, all the lights in the house are off. We've got our mushrooms, got our Coke. We're good to go. Yeah, once again, I think that skull is freaking awesome. You can't tell me any differently. But yeah, this is going to be a fun night. I'm ready. Alright, and we're joined by Shadow. She climbed up in my lap and decided she was going to take a nap. She was watching the movie for a little while, but she just can't hang. So always nice to have one of the cats here watching the movie with me, or at least keeping me company. Alright everyone, the movie's over, and it was another fun night here on Saturday Night Horror. I always enjoy watching Friday the 13th. Doesn't matter which movie it is in the franchise, I always enjoy watching it, and the final chapter was no different. Now the final chapter takes place immediately after part 3, and once again, even though it takes place immediately after part 3, Jason's face is totally different than it was in the previous movie. We'll find out at the end of the movie he's even more disfigured. Hey, kitty, stop. Got one of the cats messing with a tripod. But yeah, his face is even more disfigured than it was in part 3, even though it's kind of immediately after. Now the beginning of the final chapter kind of has a Halloween 2 vibe to it. You see Jason's body removed from the barn that he was killed in part 3, taken to a morgue, and he miraculously revives, as he always does. And he just kills the coroner, kills a nurse in the hospital. So it's got kind of that Halloween 2 vibe, kind of where they brought Michael Myers to the hospital and he revived. So same thing going on there. So Jason kills these 2 people in the hospital, makes his way back to Camp Crystal Lake to continue doing what he loves to do, kill. And in this movie we have a group of teenagers who rent a cabin or a house in Camp Crystal Lake across from the Jarvis house. And another significant part about this movie is this is where we're introduced to the character of Tommy Jarvis, who kind of becomes a household name in the Friday the 13th franchise, as we'll find out next week and also in part 6. But yeah, we meet a young Tommy Jarvis, and fans of Friday the 13th know he has a significant role in the series. So right across from the Jarvis house is this other house that all these teenagers have rented, and we all know what's going to happen next. Jason comes upon them, starts picking them off one by one. So yeah. Now there's a couple things in this movie that were hilarious. One of them is one of the kills. Man, this guy, he's in the basement getting hacked and cut up by Jason, and as Jason's hacking him and cutting him, he's screaming at Tommy Jarvis' sister Trish to run. He's like, "Trish, run! He's killing me!" Like, he's actually screaming, "He's killing me!" And I can't help but think he ad-libbed that because it's hilarious. As he's getting killed, all you hear is, "He's killing me!" Just screaming. It's so funny, man. I don't know if that was supposed to make me feel bad for him, but I didn't. I thought I was laughing. I was laughing my butt off the whole time. So that was pretty funny there. Also, in this movie, the final chapter, in my opinion, I feel like Jason wasn't featured as much as he was in the first two. I mean, he was there, especially around the last 20 minutes, but before that, like the first hour, 10 minutes, I felt like the focus was more on the group of kids, the teenagers, than it was Jason. So to me, it doesn't seem like Jason was as involved in this movie as he was in previous movies. Kind of wish he was there more, but I guess they were trying to make us grow attached to these characters, these teenagers, and kind of feel sympathetic towards them, but I just really didn't. The group of characters themselves, once again, not a real likable bunch. So you got two twins who were basically whores, wanting to hook up with everybody. Most of them were. Yeah, most people were just there to get high, get drunk, have sex like they usually do, and I don't really feel any connection to them. I don't really feel sorry for them once they meet their demise. I have no connection to them. And I guess with this movie, the way they kind of focused on them more than Jason, they wanted us to get a connection with them. They wanted us to feel sympathetic for them, but I just couldn't. When they died, I just shrugged my shoulders and like, damn, that sucks. Then another thing is Tommy Jarvis's mom. The power goes out in their house. She turns around, she sees something, and she screams, and then we never see her again the rest of the movie. Don't know what happened to her. I'm going to assume she was killed off camera, but you never know. They don't really clear that up as to what happened to Mrs. Jarvis. Another thing that's interesting about the final chapter is this is the first Friday the 13th movie that did not have a dream sequence at the end of the movie. Now, the first three movies, once the final survivor has gotten away from Jason, they kind of have a scene where someone comes up out of the lake and drags them under, and then they wake up. This one, final chapter, did not have a dream sequence in the movie, although they did film one. They filmed a dream sequence where Trish Jarvis finds her mother's body, and Jason's standing behind her and brings a machete down on her, and she wakes up in a hospital. For some reason, they did not put it in the movie. I thought it was pretty cool, though. So, like I said, this is the first one that doesn't feature the dream sequence at the end. The kills for this movie were pretty hand-in-hand what you expect from Friday the 13th, aside from the dude screaming, "He's killing me," which, that alone is worth watching this movie for. That's just hilarious. Like I said, I don't know if I was supposed to feel bad for the dude or not, but I was just laughing at him. As the first and only time I've heard someone scream about how they're being killed as they're being killed, and it was unintentionally hilarious. Man. I was also reading there's a lot of turmoil on the set for this movie. Directors, producers, everyone just in a bad mood, not really clicking and all that. Said little Corey, who played Tommy Jarvis, said he was a real brat on set. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, overall, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was another solid entry into the franchise. I really enjoyed it. Supposed to be the last, but as we all know, that's not how it worked out. Next week we will do Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. That used to be one that I used to struggle to watch, and we'll talk about it next week, but I've grown to appreciate it over the years. So alright everyone, that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate y'all watching. We're going to end this like we always do. We're going to have a little musical piece. We already said we're going to do Part 5 next week, but we'll put that at the end anyway. So yeah. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed bringing it to you. I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. That's going to do it for this week. I hope y'all have a happy Halloween. I'll see you next time. Take care.